Hey everybody, I'm going to give you a little update on what we've gotten done so far. We've done a few things and then changed them just because I was having a hard time accepting what I did. But some of the video of the first start and the first drive, that video will be coming out next. A lot of the wiring video I watched it as I was editing it, and I look like a total moron. I was so excited, I couldn't think straight. I called things differently. There's so much that was wrong with it. So I'm gonna put some of that in after this little intro. But I'm gonna tell you what I've done and showing you what it looks like now afterwards. So let me spin you around. Okay, this is the bed. It's got some work to do to it, and I showed you what I'm gonna do with the pieces and the inserts here in the center. But how we got this to hinge is I dug a trench right here. I took these quick release ball pins. I cut one side off so it would go in like this. You can see it goes in through here. When it goes in through here, it goes in, doing this with one hand, not looking, it goes in there. So you have all the other metal from here as your space, or right here. So that's where we're getting our support. Now this will be filled in a little bit here and just leave this hole open. I may take a piece of cylinder tubing and just slide in there, put the pin through it, slide it in, and then tack weld it on, and then fill it with a piece of metal here and weld that over, and then grind it out smooth. But that is how we've done. And because I have done this, and I know you're, why didn't you take them to the back? Why didn't you take the pins back here? So it's just, nah. There's a reason for that. And there's a reason why my hole is so high, which would be upside down like this, is so high on the piece of metal. My pivot point has to be at the highest point, which is on the metal, for this to clear the bed wall back here. The bed wall. So now it dips down and clears and doesn't touch it. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna run a piece of metal, a sheet of metal from here across to this side. So when you're looking into the bed tips up, you don't see anything. It's just flat, right? The reason for that is because my air tank is going to be mounted on the bottom of the bed floor in my AccuAir system. And I'm gonna run hard lines and this is the cab side, but what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna run hard lines or bulkheads right here, which is on this end. I'll run the bulkheads. No, this is tailgate. This is where I was right. You're right. I'm gonna do bulkheads right here. So I'll connect the lines here, which I'll do my tubing and stuff here. Coming out of here is going to be a flex line. It's basically a 3000 PSI compressor line with fittings that will fit and right onto the end of the bulkhead. So that way I can have a little bit of movement, which is not going to be much when it comes to this. And then I'll run the lines underneath the bed floor and everything inside to my airbags. So when the bed floor raises up, all you see is the tank sitting there on the bottom of the bed, right in here somewhere. Okay, we'll get some of that done and we'll bring you back. Okay, now we're just showing you what we've done so far. And I'll show you some pictures afterwards when the bed floor is out, how we did this. Okay. But this is the bed. Yes, it is MDF board, but wait till you see what I'm doing. I kind of already hinted in my other videos. We'll be back. Okay. Inside, all of our wiring, our fuse box, wiring went in through here, the little kick panel right here. It goes underneath. We've hidden most of the wiring. Also, there was a problem with the transmission, which I'm going to post another video, which I'm just going to throw that together just to show you what to look out for, what happened, and who I bought this transmission from, which I'll give you, a hint, 2 letters. Monster transmission. Anyway, okay, these are my seats from TMI. This is my new distributor cap, which you can see it's a MSD. There's your part number right there. And then I got a new coil pack, MSD, my new coil. Of course, there's my fiberglass door panel on this side and the one I started on the other. Okay, engine, most of the wiring is all hidden. We've got our 2 fans down here, serpentine belt, all the painting that I did, MSD wiring, our plug wires here. We painted our air lines lime green, kind of camouflaged the brake lines there, so you really can't see them when you look inside. All of our power steering is hooked up. This is Nitro Cool's radiator, which is as thick as a semi truck core, so that'll take a lot of heat. It'll cool everything down for the motor. Wait till you hear it run. It's pretty badass. Back here, you're going to see what we've done to the bed. In my prior video, or the one that I was going to post, the bed itself, these little mounts right here, this top part will be filled in. This hole right here is where my little linch pin, it's a quick release pin, it goes right here. It's going to come through, connect in here, and the bed will pivot up. And the reason I didn't push it all the way to the back here, which a lot of people do, is because my AccuAir tank system is going to sit right here on the floor underneath the bed. This is underneath the side of the bed. And all of my wiring is going to be underneath here. This is all foam. I'm going to get to that in just a second. So all my wiring is going to be hidden underneath. It'll come to bulkheads right here and they'll come out. Now, back to this. Since this is where it's going to pivot, I've got 4 inches right back on the back side here that you're not going to be able to see, because I'm going to have a steel plate that bolts here, goes across to the side. So it's going to set right up to the pivot point on the bed. So when the bed floor pivots, everything behind it will be totally covered. And that's where I'm going to bring all of my lines, which I have a flex line. Right now it's a 300 PSI flex line that's going to connect to the bulkheads, run down to another secured bulkhead bracket, and then it's going to run off to my backs. Of course, you saw the invisible tub where we tubbed it and put a piece of metal over the front of it and then built this to mimic the frame. This is going to be black Raptor liner. This is going to be the charcoal gray, like the hammered gray, the charcoal that I've actually made up with two Rust-Oleum paints, the black and the gray, and I mixed them to get the darkness that I wanted. I got my mounts here and there that have to be welded on. I've got the bung in the frame, so I just have to tack all that up. Once all that's done, we're going to go around and we're going to fill in all the little spots that need it and smooth this out really, really nice. Okay. Of course, I got a roll pan for back here. New tailgate. We're going to round these off, and I'm going to show you that in the next video, or one of the next videos. These are all pocket holes will be covered up. New tailgate is over here behind the glass. This is all my glass. International Vintage something, whatever, I don't know. Call Ross over at Premier Street Rod, and he recommended these people. He ordered it for me. He got me all the seals and everything for all my glass. From the doors, the windows, the front and back. So it's going to be a one piece, which that's coming, windows, that's coming next. But this, okay. What I did was I redesigned the bed. I didn't redesign the frame, just the wood. I used a finished birch, which you can see it's a really nice, it's pretty thick, but I put a quarter round on the sides, which is going to have a really nice epoxy. If you've seen one of my other videos, you've seen what I'm going to do to it, which I may just go ahead and show you again in this video. But by doing that, I used bigger strips of wood here, which I had this before, and there's a difference in size. So before I was going to do a little differently, but I had to put these in there to raise the foam up to actually meet and fit where I wanted it. Now, this is the top side of the foam. Okay, I had to cut and put two pieces together. And you'll be smart when you do glue this to put blue tape across it, because if you don't, you see how this Gorilla Glue, which is what I used, where's that? This stuff right here, get this at any big box store. It is hard stuff. Now, what I did was I cut these to fit inside the gap. I made a lip here so it would come up over the bolts, and it would set above it. So once I got my size, I took two of these paint sticks, and I stuck them on the side of the foam, and I ran down between the two, and I sanded this down on the side until I got the gap that these are going to replace. And you'll see what I'm talking about here. See the wood there? This fits nice and tight. Get my fingers in there. Lifts up. They're very, very, very lightweight. And it just slides right down inside. Now, when you do these, I get them to fit. I get them cut to the size that I want with a gap on each side that I want. Then what I do is I take a piece of fiberglass, which I have a big roll of fiberglass. But I got the real heavy fiberglass. And I cut it just a little bit wider on each side. And I'll show you what I'm talking about. You see how it is sticking out? It was sticking out a lot more than right here, because once the fiberglass resin hardened, I came back and I took my little wood sticks here, and I glued them onto the side with same kind of glue, the Gorilla Glue, but I also put little staples in it to kind of hold it, and then I took tape and wrapped it over to even hold it down even better, because it may want to come up. It was just to hold the nails were a little, just to hold it down a little bit. Once it dried, this dried, took all the tape off, and then I took my sander and I went down the sides. You can see that? And I just sanded until this was nice and flush. Now, I got it really tight. I feel some ridges here on this side. You'll have to go back and you'll have to fine tune all this to get this thing to fit down in here as snug and as tight as you want. Now in this one, I didn't do this process. I actually put these on after the fact. I did the fiberglass. So there's no fiberglass covering the wood. No big deal. But this one, it just kind of evolved into doing this. Now, these are light. I mean, that's light. That's foam. That's foam, a layer of fiberglass, and these little paint sticks on the side. Now, what I'm going to do is, this one's sanded a little bit, and it's smooth. It has texture, which I kind of wanted in the texture. This one, I just put a coat of paint, just spray can, rattle can, on top of it. This is all dust. What's going to happen is this is going to have Raptor liner on it. This is going to have the green stone, like the frame down there. And this is all going to be Raptor liner underneath all this. So it is protected, waterproof. I'm going to leave the bottom side just pink. So if anybody asks, you know, and how I'm going to hold these on, just like I did my door panels. If you haven't seen my door panel video, these are held on with magnets. It's kind of flimsy when you pull it apart right here. Once you put foam on it, like I did the other one for my design, it is almost impossible to get off. So pulling it from the center, having magnets all the way around it from your pull, the door panel will not come off. You have to pull it off from a corner. So the next step is to sand this one down, fine tune the edges to get it to fit perfectly. Then, just like I showed you on this side, how all this, it ends up looking like this. Down to the sanded side here, all this is sanded, fits nice and snug. And then I got coated black on this. Like everything else, things do change. And if I feel the need, I will put another layer of the clear epoxy on this to smooth this out even more, which 50-50. I don't know if I'm gonna do that or not. Anything else? Just as an update. I'll add my gauges. You can see my gauges, but I'll add a video in that, or it'll just be the next one. The next video, when it's the start and everything, you'll see all that. So as of right now, that's as far as we've gotten. And one last thing, guys. I talked about this being fiberglass. It is fiberglass, but I also used, because the resin would melt the foam. Spray paint melts foam. Anything that you put on, unless you do it really light and lots of layers, you still. So I used epoxy. I went to the big box store and just got me a container of epoxy, mixed it up, put a layer on top of the foam, put my fiberglass on, and I just rolled it out real gently and slow because, excuse me, there's some dust in here. Because the epoxy is actually very sticky, and I've done a lot of fiberglass before with resin, and the resin rolls out a little better, and at least for me it has. It's rolled out better than the epoxy because the epoxy is sticky. So when you're rolling it over, it wants to roll the fiberglass hairs up onto the roller. So just go slow, and just go slow until you get pretty saturated. And that's it, guys. Until next time. So, like I said, that's as far as we've gotten. Now that the panels are somewhat done, the next thing is for AccuAir to get back into business because I have the CVT tank. And in order to design what I want, I need to have either my CVT tank switched to a VT tank and then get compressors. I don't know what's going to happen, so we're kind of waiting on them to open back up. If that doesn't happen and they don't work with me, then we go to another company that I've been eyeballing, which we'll find out. But until the next one, which should be in less than a week, I'll post another video. All right, I appreciate you watching. Thanks for all the comments, guys. You know, as far as we're at a lull right now because I'm waiting on a couple of parts. You know, I only work on this on the weekends whenever I have time because do have a full-time business. So once we get more of the stuff in we need, air tank is a big deal. That means that everything is about to go forward with the, oh, let me show you the floor. This was a sample board that I did because I wanted, I don't know if you can see it, how well it comes in. There's a lot of sunshine right now, but now let's go this side. Imagine this, which is going to be the bed floor, full epoxy pour. This kind of got away from me as far as the size of the strips because I thought about doing like this to kind of mimic boards, but I decided I'm not going to do that. I'm going to make these a little smaller and more. So tune back in for that. But this is what the bed floor is going to look like. And maybe I may take and put some little chrome strips. I don't know, up in the air, but that's something to think about. But that in itself is going to be a little different. I've seen a couple things out there since I brought this up that people have done because this has been, I've talked about this a couple years ago. And I've seen some live edge bed floors which look actually pretty damn good. But this is going to be a full epoxy pour. Now this is a show truck. This is something I'm going to show off and not really, I'm not going to haul anything in the back. So that being said, subscribe, like, comment, or dislike it if you don't like it. You think it's trash. So just check back in with me. Until then, see you later, guys.